Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear friends in Dharma, so we are here at the Buddhist channel to have this Dhamma sermon. And then first of all, I would like to pay my tribute to the late founder, most venerable Dharanagama Kusaladhamma Maha Thero, who rendered a yeoman service to spirituality the world over through the Buddhist channel. Today, I have chosen the trap of perception and selfhood for my Dhamma sermon today. Now, as you may know, perception is like a mirage. So it's like a trap. What is perception according to the Buddha's teachings? Perception is that with our eyes we capture images, with our ears we capture sounds, with our tongue we capture taste, with our palate we capture taste, and and with our nose we capture smell, and with our skin we feel tangible things, anything tangible. And then as our sense faculties remain interconnected with the outside world, what is called perception occurs. And in other words, perception is what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we touch, and so on and so forth. Now, perception, according to Buddha's teaching, is a trap. Why it is called a trap? As you may know, Buddha encourages us to see things as they truly or really are, yatha bhuta jnana dassana. But our life is such that we can't even see as the things as they appear to be. So, needless to say that it is extremely difficult. It is difficult in the true sense of the word to see things as they truly really are. So at this point, we need to touch upon the Buddhist word samsara. As you may know, samsara is a cycle of comeback, cycle of birth and death. We come back to the cycle of birth and death, to the cycle of rebecoming in different life forms. You could come back as in human form. You could come back in divine form. You could come back in different other forms. And then, so samsara is such that, as Buddha says, it is endless, and we don't know what we had been before coming to this world, and we wouldn't know where we are, what we are going to be afterwards as we leave this world one day. And so that is why, given the nature of samsara, nirvana is important. And on different occasions, most of the time, I would like to say that people ask what nirvana is. Nirvana is the end to the cycle of samsara. That is the traditional answer. So when it comes to nirvana, it is the end of the cycle of rebecoming or birth and death. Why is nirvana important? Because samsara is not what we always want to be. In other words, if you can remain younger forever, if you can avoid aging, if you can prevent sickness, and then if you can achieve all your wishes and dreams and ambitions, you don't need nirvana. But samsara is such that it always frustrates us. as we wake up in the morning and until we go back to bed at night, we go through lots of insecurity in our day-to-day life. Insecurity is the most simple English translation of the word dukkha. Dukkha, as you know, is traditionally translated as suffering, which is misleading. Du, it's made of two words, du plus ka. Du is negative. Ka is essenceless, meaningless. So, in layman's language, dukkha is something like a missing link, always. Even if you eat good food, even if you boast about having good friends, even if you go on vacations, even if you boast about your background, upbringing, educational qualifications, etc., etc. But still, always on daily basis, there is what is called a missing link. There is always something missing from your life, from our life. Why is that? It is a dormant feeling. It is a dormant tendency. So, dukkha is something, a feeling of something that is always missing from your life. And that is, in other words, in one word, it is insecurity. It's proper to translate the word dukkha as insecurity, so that everyone can understand. We are surrounded by insecurity, so that our eyes struggle to capture the images that the eyes would like to get. Of course, that is how our self-food is functional. That is how our self-food functions. Now, when it comes to self-food, in Pali that is called attabhava. Later on I will explain the term attabhava in layman's terms. So in this sermon we are not using any hard traditional English terms, Buddhist terms. Instead we will use simple layman's language. So, self-food. Now, attabhava. Let's touch upon that word now, attabhava. So, as you know, the Sanskrit word for self is atman or atma, and then the Pali cognate is atta. And then when Buddha borrowed the term atma, and it got refined, and in Pali it is atta, but Buddha used the word attabhava instead of atta or atman. In Sinhalese and Sanskrit we call atma bhava. Bhava is to be. So attabhava denotes that it is not something fixated anywhere. It is not a fixed entity. It is not a permanent entity. Attabhava means being. So our selfhood is like a stream, like a flow, just like a river. It continues to flow. It continues to stream. So attabhava at that point is very different than soul in theistic religions, in God-centered religions. Attabhava simply is a stream of like a river. It continues to flow, and this flow is called the samsara. And then, so if you call attabhava as a stream, it is like it is born up in the mountain as a tiny stream of water, and later it gets swollen, it gets wider and bigger, and all of a sudden it falls off a cliff. Then there's a name change. You call it waterfall, and then it continues to flow along the valley. At times it gets wider, it gets swollen, it becomes noisy, and all of a sudden it becomes like a body of still water, flowing very slow, so slow that it is like a body of still water. And then again it becomes tiny, wider, swollen, noisy, silent, and it all of a sudden it may disappear into the mountains and reappears from the opposite side of the mountain. It continues to flow. All of a sudden it empties itself into the ocean. So there disappears the river, the stream of water. And that is how our Atta Bhava or our self can be very easily understood. So it is like a flow. We don't, as we were born, so we were infant, we grew up acquiring language, religion, culture, knowledge from our parents, our immediate family members, in school, and from the society. And so we grew into adulthood, and then so that we reach middle age, and then we reach old age. All of a sudden we have to live this life. And so this is the nature of our life. But Buddha's teaching is not a pessimism. And then it is good to be optimistic, because people very easily get pessimistic. But actually Buddha's teaching is a realism. So Buddha wants us not to be pessimistic at all, and he wants us to be optimistic, because we are not supposed to be pessimistic, but actually we need to be realistic. In realism, when we are realistic means we learn to accept ourselves, our selfhood, and the world as they change. Self, as I explained already, is like a stream, it's like a river, it continues to flow, and so that it changes, it goes through changes every moment. And that is where we can talk about the word impermanence or anicca. Anicca means nature, not permanent. It's that it doesn't stay the same, it changes all the time. So that is what anicca is. Those who are, especially in the Western world, people from non-Buddhist backgrounds highly regard Buddhism simply because of it being realism. Buddhism teaches you, encourages you to accept the change. And those who are aware of the Buddha's teaching of anicca, or impermanence, or the non-permanent nature of selfhood and the world and everything, can live a happier life. So at times even Buddhists are mistaken as to the fact that impermanence is suffering or something negative. It is not negative. When you understand, when you know what impermanence is, you know that everything is subject to change, so that you learn to cope with change, so that the change or anicca, the reality of a change or anicca, cannot affect you negatively anymore, because you learn to cope up with the change, so that you can learn to go with the flow of change. Now that is that is how we learn to deal with insecurity. So that is one. Now back to the perception. Now why we always subconsciously, our eyes always want to capture images that only gratifies us. In other words, eyes, the faculty of eyes must bring us joy through images that our eyes capture. And then the nose must bring us satisfaction or joy, gratification with the smell that the nose captures. Our palate, our tongue must bring us joy with the taste that it captures, and so on and so forth. But most of the time, during the process of perception, we end up being negative rather than positive or happy. That is because subconsciously we maintain a sense of permanence with regard to our selfhood. That is why we are unhappy. Now, in general, regardless of their spiritual affiliations or religious affiliations, in general, believe that problems are permanent, sufferings are permanent, pains and aches are permanent, whereas joy, happiness is impermanent. Pains, aches, sufferings, negativities are impermanent too. So in the world where nothing is permanent, how could you believe that a pain is permanent? How could you believe that suffering is permanent? But still, most people believe so, think so, because subconsciously they maintain a sense of permanence with regard to their selfhood. And that is the bottom line in this sermon. Now let's look at the areas of our selfhood. Now you already know, a proper standard Pali term for selfhood is attabhava. Instead simply atman or atma or atta, attabhava, simply because the term denotes life or selfhood as a stream, something that is not fixated anywhere, which is something that is not a permanent entity. So in this life we are in human form. There's no guarantee that we come back in human or divine form. And then at that point I would like to say, touch upon another misconception of Buddhism. So I have come across both Buddhists and non-Buddhists who believe that Buddhism is for afterlife, or Buddhism, the Buddha's teaching is something that talks about happiness upon death or afterlife, which is mistaken. According to Buddha's teaching, his teaching is for this lifetime. And Buddha clearly says in different places of his teachings in the scripture, in the canon, that unless you are happy in this life, there's no guarantee that you are going to be happy hereafter. And then you have already come across these phrases: ida nandati, pecha nandati, ida modati, pecha modati. Whosoever is joyful, whosoever is happy in this very life, would be happy hereafter. And another phrase is from the Dhammapada again: ida tappati, pecha tappati. Who live in despair, who live in suffering, disappointment, who live with a sense of unaccomplished goals, would go through the same hereafter as well. So that is when, and Buddha has put lots of emphasis on the fact that his teaching is for this lifetime. And we need to learn to deal with bad habits. We need to give up our bad habits. We need to acquire new habits. And then, so finally, when we leave this world, we only carry in our baggage only three things. That is to say, karmic energy, or kamma in Pali, and then memories or matakas, and then habits. So those are the vasanas. Those are the things that we carry from this life to next life. And that is what we brought into this life from our past life. And then nothing else can we take with us wherever we go afterwards. So that we have to guarantee, you have to guarantee that you keep yourself happy as possible in this very life. Otherwise, that bad habit of being negative, being disappointed, being in despair, you would carry that forward, so that you will continue to feel insecure. Now, if in medical terms, Buddha also touched upon this. Now, as average human beings, or puthujjanas, we are not happy with our life. And then if you ask yourself, most of you would complain that you haven't been able to be what you had always wanted to be. And then you would always say you want to be something that you have always wanted to be. And then so that, in other words, you are not happy what you had been before becoming what you are right now. And then you are not happy what you are right now. You want to be something else. And people, as a result, most people, maybe some of you, continue to maintain a deep sense of insecurity. And again, just to remind you once again, insecurity is one of the simplest layman's terms for the Pali term dukkha. We are surrounded by insecurity. And that is why every time we feel insecure, We want to get rid of that. We want to avoid that. So that is why we look for new things, and that is where the perception comes in again. And we have no existence without perception. Now we already know what perception is. Perception, once again, to remind you, is the interconnection between our selfhood and the external world. It is from the external world we derive satisfaction. At least we struggle to gain satisfaction or joy or happiness. But again, in most cases, you end up being unhappy in your effort to be happy, make yourself happy. And that is once again because of your inability to accept that world is a beautiful thing, but it fails to gratify you. It fails to bring you happiness. And then we all believe that the world is out there to make us happy. But most of the time we get frustrated with the world. We get afflicted with the world. And then remember one dream that Bodhisattva Gautama had prior to his enlightenment. And then now he was now walking on a rock full of feces, and then so that human feces, and then later, having walked a few steps, then he would check his feet, and then surprisingly, his feet hadn't touched the human feces. And then he analyzed his own dream and told himself, definitely I am going to be the Buddha. I would, after my enlightenment, I would remain in the world yet untouched by the world. I would remain in the world, I would live in the world yet untouched by the world. I would live in the world yet unafflicted by the world. And then that is how enlightened beings are. That is our effort too. Now we are deeply encouraged to practice what is called paramitas. Paramitas, there are 10, as you know, is no time to explain those 10 paramitas. Paramitas are the bodhisattva qualifications. We need to complete those qualifications in order for us to become enlightened one day. And then Buddhism being a way of life, we need to apply the Buddha's teachings into our life. Now, there should be a starting point. There should be a way to start practicing. I know for sure most of you have studied lots of sutras, lots of the Buddhist teachings, and then some of you have been practicing Buddhist meditation for a long period, probably all your lives up to this moment. But still, at times you may feel frustrated with your existence. You may feel depressed with your aging, your illness, your sickness, your relationships, your company, and your life, your properties, with the world, frustrated with the world overall, in general. And that is because even if you are blessed with humanity, blessed with one of the best samsaric life forms, that is human form, humanity, you may still, you are yet to understand that world is not a perfect place. World is not a place where you can be happy all the time. Now, happiness has to be earned. It doesn't come to you automatically. In order for us, you need to make some adjustments to your perception. Again, we are coming back to the term perception. You need to make some adjustments to your perception. How to do adjustments? Making adjustments means you need to make a list of your goals in life, goals that you need to fulfill in your life, and then your list of goals must be very short. Now, and then you can understand what is the goal of life actually, according to Buddhism, so that it changes based on our motive, based on our need. And then if I give a spiritual answer to the question as to what the goal of life is, and it could say goal of life is happiness. So we do everything possible in our life to make ourselves happy, to make our selfhood happy thing. But it is the very happiness that we always dream about that doesn't come to us. That is because something wrong with our perception. Now, enlightened beings like the Buddha and Arahants and Pacceka Buddhas and other higher spiritual beings, now they look at the world as not a place of happiness. Now, world is full of problems, chaos. And if you fundamentally believe that world is not a perfect place, there you go. And then there you can start the healing process. Now, we have personally spoken to people from different religious backgrounds, and then among them were the richest people in the world. But still, they are not happy with their wealth, with their properties, with their knowledge, with their education, with their backgrounds, with their worldly comfort, and so on and so forth. And they continue to complain. So if you really want to make yourself happy as you continue to perceive the world, you need to learn to appreciate the things you have already earned. This is called santutti, or the santut, as you know, it is santutti paramandanang, a statement that Buddha has made. So contentment is the wealth, best wealth. So that is the best wealth. Even if you are economically stable, even if you can boast about your wealth and then your properties, and then as long as you are not happy with what you have already earned, so that happiness is nowhere close to you. It's guaranteed that you wouldn't be happy. And then, so it doesn't mean that you should give up on earning. You need to set higher limits in your day-to-day life. If you are a student, you need to set higher goals. You need to set the highest limit in your education so that you can earn the highest qualifications. If you are a business person, and then you need to make the biggest profit out of your business. And then if you are a spiritual person, you need to set the highest limit of spiritual advancement. And then whichever the area of life that you are focused on, your focus is, your target is on, you need to set higher limits. But at the same time, it's meaningless to run after goals in vain without being able to enjoy what you have already earned. However little you have earned, you need to appreciate. When you don't know how to appreciate the thing, appreciate your life, appreciate your talents, appreciate the things that you have earned in your life. Even if you earn the biggest thing in the world, you wouldn't be happy. Why? Because you don't know how to appreciate. So at this point, remember the word appreciation. That is called self-appreciation. Appreciate yourself. And most people live in denial, even if they are economically, financially rich. That is because they don't know how to appreciate themselves. And life is a gift. Strictly in the Buddhist spiritual sense, it's a karmic gift. You are enjoying the good karma that you made in your past life. And the past karma brings us results in the present. And whatever the karma that we make in the present would bring us results in the future. That is the karmic pattern. And you need to understand that karmic pattern. And then you need to enjoy whatever you have earned, however little it is. Now, I know lots of people in different countries who are very rich, but they suffer from gastritis in the morning. And at night, they suffer from insomnia. Why is that? Why is that? Why that insecurity? Because they are so busy that they don't have time to have breakfast. They are so occupied with their business deals, with their worldly affairs, that they can't sleep at night. As a result, they suffer from insomnia. It is the gastritis in the morning, it is insomnia at night. So then what is the meaning of having things? You don't have the joy of having things like attisukha in your day-to-day life. You can boast about, you can still boast about your accomplishment, whether financial or especially financial accomplishments, but still it is meaningless. It is simply a word. You can simply boast about, you can say that you have earned lots of things, but what you say is just meaningless. Why? Inward, inside, within yourself, you are not happy. Subconsciously, even consciously, you are suffering. You are complaining. There's no point complaining against the world. If you complain against the world, you wouldn't be able to do anything else in your life because you complain. And then at times you may be the victim of the system that you are part of. You could have been victimized by someone else. But still, even if you are innocent, even if you are the victim, there's no point complaining. Why? You need to move forward. And then otherwise, you would gather more and more anger, frustration. You may even get depression. As a result, you may go into denial, and then so that you would fail to benefit from this humanity. And then once again, remember those keywords. What is samsara again? I would like to remind you once again. So far we have touched upon a few Pali words, samsara, and then attabhava. These two words. Samsara once again is a cycle of rebecoming. We come back to life form, we come back in different life forms after this lifetime. But in case some of you don't believe in past life, don't believe in future life, future existence, or samsara, as long as you could you believe in yesterdays, and you can apply this Buddha's teaching into your day-to-day life, so that you had yesterdays, and yesterday you made some bad karma, and as a result you are guilty, and that can ruin your day today, the whole day today. And then whatever the bad karma you you make today could ruin your tomorrow. And then there were yesterdays, there are going to be many more tomorrows. And then so that why ruin your life? There are chances in abundance for you to so enjoy this life. You are never too late. And then why live in denial? And in the Dhammapada once again Buddha says, Konuhaso kimanando niccang pajjalite sati andhakarena onadda padipang nagavisata. So konuhaso, this is how you look at your life most of the time, regardless of your economy, regardless of your spiritual or social or economic background. Most people in general, at least a few moments a day, on daily basis, they think like this. Konuhaso, what laughter? How can I smile? How can I laugh? Kimanando, how can I be happy? What is happiness? What is joy? What is laughter? Niccang pajjalite sati, I am burning. Like I am burning, sitting on burning charcoal. My life is on fire. Niccang pajjalite sati, my life is always on fire. So that how can I smile? How can I laugh? How can I be happy? And that is your typical way of thinking. That is some of you think. And then you totally forget that life is a blessing, that humanity is a blessing, is a karmic gift, that if you compare yourself with, you always compare yourself with those who have earned much higher than you have done. As a result, you are worried that you haven't earned much higher. Always look at those who have achieved higher, and then instead of being jealous of them, look at them as role models and set higher limits of achievement in your life. Whereas at the same time, when it comes to enjoy in your life, being happy in your life, compare yourself with those who have much less than you do. And there are lots of people, millions of people down there in the street who have who don't have a drop of water, clean water to quench their thirst, who haven't eaten who haven't had good food for days, for weeks, for months, and so they feed on the trash that people leave on the roadside, and they live a really miserable life. Compare yourself with those who are down the road and those who are going through such miseries, and you will be able to see, understand, realize that you are the happiest in the world. And then at the same time, as I just said, compare yourself with those who have earned much higher than you have done, and use them as a role model and be like them. Don't be jealous of them. Don't envy their success. Instead, they follow them and set higher limits of achievement in life. But whereas when it comes to compare yourself, don't compare yourself and then be negative. Instead, compare yourself those who are going through miseries, problems, starving, and so that you can be very happy that you have earned much higher, and actually you have resources in abundance in order for you to be happy in your life. Now let's look at the word denial. So that denial, in psychological terms, is not a good thing. A denial could be chronic as well, whereas according to Buddha's teaching, dukkha is a chronic disease, meaning it is forever. There's no medicine. The only medicine is nirvana, as you may know. Nirvana, because nirvana is valid because there is samsara. Unless there is samsara, we don't need to have nirvana. And nirvana is simply the walking away from the agonizing samsara. And then, so you may understand from the Buddha's teaching of paticca samuppada, or the dependent origination, and then we fall back in the same pattern of insecurity, dukkha, again and again. That is what happens to us. And then you complain, you know that you need to get rid of insecurity, dukkha, but at the same time, already, even though you know that, you are not willing to take some positive steps forward. You are either backward or you remain stuck. There should be moving forward, so that you need to go forth. Remember, when you compare, if you are a lay person, and if you are compared to a peacock in the Buddhist scripture, and then if you are a monk, and then you are compared to a swan. A swan can fly long distances, and swans don't have much attachment to the lake that they associate with. Whereas when it comes to peacocks, they are beautiful, and swans are not as beautiful as peacocks, because peacocks have beautiful feathers, mayuras. But it is the same feathers that becomes a burden to peacocks. Why? When peacocks cannot fly long distances, and they have so much attachment to the landscape that they associate with, they live in. At the same time, when they walk around the bushes, they have to make sure that they don't get their beautiful feathers torn. And so it is the feathers that bring them, that give them, that beautify them, and it is the same feathers that remain a burden to peacocks. As lay people, your life is beautiful at the same time, so that your life is full of burdens to the extent that it is beautiful. And so what I was going to say is, when it comes to the Pali word for ordination, or meaning becoming a monk or a nun, a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, the word is pabbajja. Pabbajja literally means going forth. Going forth as opposed to getting stuck. As lay people, gahattas, you always remain stuck. Whereas in monkhood, you are able to go forth. And that is why Westerners call ordination going forth. Actually, and that is we need. Even if you are a lay person, living a lay life, you are able to go forth, meaning you are able to move forward. What you need is, you need to make some adjustments, as I said at the very beginning. You need to make some adjustments to your way of thinking, way of perception. And then if you believe that life is permanent, if you believe that life is not supposed to change, if you believe that life is has to be a permanent entity, life is supposed to be fixated, and then if you believe that you must remain younger forever, if you believe that you are not supposed to fall ill, get sick, if you believe that you are not supposed to lose your wealth, if you believe that your life has to be all happy, and then you are mistaken. So just to make the adjustment is, to your perception is that you need to believe that life is in a state of flux. It's like a river. It continues to flow. It goes through lots of changes, and you need to learn. When you learn to cope with changes as such, and then you can very easily look at your life from a different angle. And that is what Buddha has taught us, to accept the change. Now, when you help someone, don't even expect a thank you from them. Why? Because having spent lots of money and labor and knowledge over helping others, if you will become sad. There's no point to getting sad, becoming disappointed having helped someone. And then when you help, then as we enjoy our life, we are also supposed to help others. And then when you help others, when you offer help to those who are on the receiving end of your help, don't get angry, don't get disappointed that they don't thank you. Don't even expect a thank you from others. Just help and forget it. And so when it comes to your self-food, you need to take the proper care of your physical body and the mind, because our self-food is made of two things. Our mind. By feeding the mind with proper thoughts, feelings, proper thoughts, you can keep your mind healthy. By feeding your body with proper food, you can keep your body proper. You need to practice. The last thing I would like to say is, you need to practice self-metta. Metta, as you know, M-E-T-T-A, metta, in Sanskrit, in Sinhala, is called Maitri. That is unconditional love. So now, when it comes to love, people put forward conditions, meaning your love to someone else is conditional. Unless they love you enough, you wouldn't love them back. That is how the normal or passionate love is. Whereas metta is a spiritual love. It is selfless love. It's unconditional love. Even if others don't love you, and then instead of getting angry with them, frustrated with them simply because they don't love you back, you simply love yourself and radiate the same to others. And then when it comes to loving, you need to love yourself at the first place. And most people live in denial and they don't love themselves. Those who don't love themselves are not in a position to love others, because you don't know the value of love, metta. So metta is self-love. And then you have to start your life. You start the day with a sense of self-love, self-metta. May I be well. Have I ever been happy? Even if there's a bunch of people, there's lots of people out there who say that they would love me, they would take care of me, but I can rely on them completely. Even if there is no one else to take care of, to offer care, I should be able to take care of myself. And those who love themselves at the first place are not selfish, actually. It is not because you are selfish that you love yourself. Actually, it is because you need to take care of others, offer help to others in the long run, in the long term. You take care of yourself. When you are emotionally fragile, when you are not in a position to help yourself, how could you help others? That is why we need to love ourselves at the first place. And when you take care of yourself, you become emotionally stronger, and so that you could help many more people in the world. So in the name of compassion, in the name of helping many more people in the world, in the name of taking care of others, starting from your immediate family members and others in the society. You need to take care of yourself. You need to love yourself. Take care of your physical body. Don't neglect your physical body. It is part of our selfhood. When your body is sick, so your selfhood is in trouble. And then life is a gift. You have to be responsible for that. And then if you are not responsible for your physical body and mind, if you are not responsible for your selfhood, who else can be responsible for you? Even if there are, as I said, even if there are millions of people who say that they would come to your help, but at certain points, there's no one else. There is no one else that is able to help you. You yourself have to help yourself. It is true in daily life. In your daily life, it is true in the samsara, and then even nirvana. Even if there is lots of people practicing spirituality with you, you have to achieve your own nirvana. And then nobody else can take you there. As Buddha says, Akkhataro Tathagata. Buddhas are simply guides. Buddhas guide us through. It is our responsibility to understand our life, understand our insecurities, understand our selfhood, understand our needs, and understand where we stand in the samsara. It is our responsibility to see good from bad, to decide. And of course, one last thing I would like to say is that there should be trustworthy good friends in your life. Because even if you are intelligent, even if you are understanding, even if you are knowledgeable, even if you have wisdom, at times there should be another body, there's another self, there should be another person, another individual, at least one more to help you out. And they are called Kalyana Mittas. Kalyana Mittas are spiritual friends who are always ready to listen to you. By becoming a Kalyana Mitta or a trustworthy spiritual friend to someone else, you could understand the value of Kalyana Mittas. So that find at least one trustworthy spiritual friend in your life. He or she, you can who should be able to listen to you. And then so having a good friend, trustworthy spiritual friend, is a blessing. Then always share your feelings with the trustworthy friend, because even if you, as I said, even if you are intelligent, understanding, so knowledgeable, wise, you when it comes to certain things in your life, you can handle everything by yourself. You need a good friend. And also don't forget to have some meditation, some mindfulness meditation. It's always good to practice mindful deep breath in the morning, or in case you miss that, don't forget to have some mindful breath practice at bedtime, at night. You should be able to go to bed taking some deep mindful breath. Mindful breath helps you to release tension in your head, in your brain, in your mind, and in your body. And then so go to bed at night with a deep sense of self-care, deep sense of self-metta. And then also part of that sense must be that you would smile with more people tomorrow, say hello to more people tomorrow, and or use this skill. And Buddha says, pubbahasi pubbabhani. You must be able to smile first. You must be able to say hello, say hi to someone at first. And you smile first, you speak first. Don't wait for others to smile with you. Don't wait for others to say hi to you, hello to you, and you do that yourself first, even with your enemies, so that you can make even your enemy happy. And then so that you can make yourself, the Buddha's teaching is such that on daily basis you smile and you are happy yourself, and you make others happy. Thank you, and Buddha bless you. Buddha.